Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching NDTV. US President-elect Donald Trump has reaffirmed his position on H1B visas, emphasizing the importance of skilled workers, saying that the United States of America needs to have the most competent, smart people. Immigration, as we know, has been a political hot-button issue during the US presidential campaign, with now differences amongst Republicans coming to the fore, particularly concerning work permits to foreigners. India is the biggest beneficiary of this program, which is why this issue becomes very important to us. Data from the US government shows that Indians account for more than 70% of all H1B petitions approved each year since 2015. People born in China come a close second, hovering, it's not a close second, actually distant second, and they are at 12 to 13% mark since 2018. So what kind of implications can any change to the H1B visa program have on the IT industry, on India-US ties and the way US looks at Indians, or on the big American dream? To make sense of all of this, we have with us Meera Shankar, former ambassador of India to the United States of America. We also have Soundarya Balasubramaniam, who is an expert and also an analyst. Thank you, both of you, for joining me on this broadcast. But first, let's listen in to what Donald Trump said today.
Why did you change your mind on H1B visa, sir?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
Thank you so much. Meera Shankar, former ambassador of India to the United States, also joins us. We also have Soundarya Balasubramaniam. To you, Ambassador Shankar, first. Let's. Rich McKean is the reporter who's joining us. This Donald Trump's statement today saying that his position is consistent and he believes that America needs competent people, smart people. How do you see this? And do you think that he has oscillated with this issue in the past and he's going to be consistent with what he's saying today?
Yeah, well, nice to join you. Good afternoon from New York. As you said, overnight here in the US, Donald Trump has really sought to clarify his position on the H1B visa following what really has been a heated debate raging here among Republicans in the last couple of weeks. Last night, Donald Trump spoke to a reporter about the visa, as you mentioned, at that New Year's event in Florida. And I think it's important for context to realise that this visa is offered to highly skilled immigrants, ones that it's a visa that Donald Trump has actually criticised in the past in 2016, and it's one he sought to restrict while he was in office during his first term. And last night when he was asked about the visa, I think it's important to reiterate what he had to say. He said, "I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need smart people in our country, and we need a lot of people coming in." Now, if Donald Trump were to be in favour of this in a few weeks when he takes office, it would be good news for the thousands of people who apply for H1B visas every year. As I mentioned, these are visas offered to highly skilled, highly qualified immigrants to come to the US and work in businesses who need these skilled workers. Now, Immigration Services cap the number of new H1B visas at around 85,000 people every year. And in 2023, as you alluded to, 72% of approved petitions were from people who were born in India. Now, most of the visa holders who come here to the US end up residing in New York City, where I am now, as well as San Jose and San Francisco in California. These are all big hubs for technology and technology advancement in the United States. So it's very important for the US. Now, the reason this has become such a major story here and around the world in the last couple of weeks is because Donald Trump, of course, appointed an Indian-American entrepreneur to become his artificial intelligence advisor, and he spoke out in favour of the H1B visa. Now, his calls were echoed by Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, who is an ally of Donald Trump, who said he would go to war over this issue. But of course, it has enraged some of Donald Trump's Republican base, these MAGA Republicans who are anti-immigration, some of them. Even Steve Bannon, who was a former advisor to Donald Trump, called the visas a scam and a con. However, just finally, it would seem, according to those comments were both referred to from Donald Trump, he seems to be in favour now of the H1B visa, so it's good news for people who are looking to come here on that visa.
Right. Thank you, Mitch McCann, for joining us with those details. We have Meera Shankar joining us now, former ambassador of India to the United States of America. We also have Saundarya Balsubramaniam joining us. She's an analyst. Meera Shankar, to you first. Ambassador Shankar, we need smart people in our country. We need a lot of people coming in, smart people coming in. Clearly, Donald Trump making it clear that he's completely okay with one kind of immigrants there. How do you read the political and social undertones in his statement? How much can those words be trusted? What can be expected from him as far as immigration issues are concerned, specifically with regard to Indians and also the H1B visa issue?
Look, I mean, with regard to illegal immigration, he has promised to be tough, to rebuild the border wall and to deport people. Now, he really didn't say much about legal immigration during his campaign, but it's blown up into a political controversy because his MAGA base has spoken out strongly against the program. On the other hand, a major funder like Elon Musk has said that the program is crucial and critical for the United States, though he has subsequently qualified that a bit and said that the program itself is broken and maybe we need to reform it to raise the minimum wage limits under this program and also maybe charge an annual fee. We really don't know what would happen. Of course, as it is, the H1B visa holders from India actually get paid much more than the minimum wage in the US. They actually get a much higher wage already. So we have to wait and see how it goes. Now, the important thing is that Donald Trump has also come out in favor of the H1B program, saying that the US needs competent people. And it's true that if he does want to revive the economy, then the H1B visa program would be very important because there's a huge skills gap in the US. It's not that these H1B visa holders are taking US jobs. They are there because there are not enough qualified people in the US in the sciences, in computer engineering, in engineering, and they go to fill this skills gap. So in a sense, it really helps the competitiveness of US companies. And amongst the major users of H1B are not just Indian companies. I think amongst the major users are all the major US IT companies, whether it's Google, whether it's Apple, whether it's Amazon, whether it is Elon Musk's Tesla or X. All these companies are heavily using the H1B visa program. So for Trump, it's a question of pragmatism, because if he wants the economy to deliver, he can't start by creating a huge gap which would impact the competitiveness of the US's most successful and biggest companies.
So pragmatism is probably what is driving this. Saundarya, clearly it is also the dominance of Indians that seems to have caught the attention of nativist MAGA Republicans. We have heard those voices that have spoken out in the last few days. Do you see this debate settling down anytime soon, or do you see this taking center stage? What kind of approach should India be taking to this? And also, most importantly, how do you see this playing out socially? Because, you know, these comparisons between Math Olympiad or, for that matter, prom queen culture, that clearly is not really good for the community there.
Yes, I don't think that the Trump administration has really stepped up the appointment of Indian Americans.
Yes, Saundarya, would you like to take this question? Yes, ma'am, I'll come back to you in a bit. Yes, Saundarya?
Sure. I was obviously going through what's happening on Twitter and just the whole internet on this debate. And what's interesting is Sriram Krishnan was appointed as the White House AI policy leader. not the immigration policy leader. But I think there's definitely been a lot of racist attacks on Twitter that I noticed around Sriram Krishnan. I don't see this dying down because the H1B lottery is coming up in a few months. It's going to start from March 2025 and go on for a month. So I also know that recently Department of Homeland Security launched a new memorandum. They finalized a set of rules that's going to go into effect from January 17th, 2025, in just another few weeks. And in fact, some of the rules, if you notice, are good for people who are especially from Indian origin, given that Indians are 71% of H1B recipients right now. And I just want to highlight a few of these rules just so everyone knows about this. First is that before it wasn't very clear if founders could own more than 50% equity through a company through which they're filing the H1B. But right now they've codified that you can be a majority owner of a company in terms of equity and voting rights and still file for an H1B through that company.
Right.
So that's one big win for any immigrant or Indian founder who wants to use the H1B to create jobs for America. The second is for students. So there's something called cap gap extension. So previously students whose F1 visa was running out, F1 is the student visa that people used to go to the US to study. They were essentially without a visa status once their F1 ran out before the H1B kicked in, because H1B only kicks in October 1st of the year. And right now they've simplified that so that students don't have to worry about running out of status before the new work visa kicks in. And finally, they've also cracked down on fraud a lot. So there's going to be more site visits happening where USCIS can go and visit an IT consulting firm that filed H1Bs to see if it's actually a legitimate company.
In the last few years, Ambassador Shankar, how should India navigate this diplomatically, ma'am? Because as much as strategic interests and calculations are concerned, the social and economic connections between India and US have also been fostered by Indian workers in America, and they do play a very important role in bilateral ties. How do you see India approaching this diplomatically, and how do you see this impacting, or in some ways, will it impact the India-US ties?
Well, I think let's wait and see what happens. Let's not jump the issue and presume that it's going to be problematic. Let's wait and see what happens in actual terms. What does Trump do? Because he says he likes the H1B program a lot. He's used it himself for workers on his projects and so on. So he's clearly plumping on the side of economic pragmatism, at least as of now. So let's wait and see what he does. But I think that, we have to recognize that Indian Americans appointed to positions in the US government are Americans first. We tend to, sometimes overreact and think that they are Indians. They are not Indians. They are Americans. Their loyalty is there, and that is their priority. And that's something we have to be conscious of. Secondly, I think that the Indian government has to take this up with the US government, basically pointing out that unemployment levels in the US, particularly in the IT and software sectors, where most of the H1Bs are hired, is really low.
Right.
And there are no Americans who can fill the jobs that these H1B visa holders are filling. So this is something which is a trade-related issue, as NASSCOM says. It is not in an immigration issue,
right,
because the H1B visa program is a commitment that the US had made actually at the WTO to give 80,000 H1B visas a year for companies engaging in contractual business work in the US.
Okay,
it's
so various aspects of the debate there. Thank you so much. I'm completely out of time. Thank you, Ambassador Shankar. Thank you, Saundarya, for joining us.